How are you today?
Hello. I'm so good. I'm so good. Thank you for asking. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. I just want to say thank you for taking the time out of your day to hop on here. And
Yeah.
I am very excited to hear how you have been doing this past year and where you're looking forward to go. So before we get into the nitty-gritty of everything, if you just want to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your business and what you do.
Sure. So my name is Daniel Barrett. I am the head nerd at Adwords Nerds. We are an online marketing company that helps real estate investors find motivated seller leads online. So basically, we do online marketing for people that are trying to buy houses and flip them, sell them on the market. Those are our clients. And yeah, that's basically the long and short of it. It's, we help those people do online marketing. And I started the company when I was just a freelancer working on my own. And now we are a team of 8 pretty cool, awesome people, I think.
That's great. So we're going to take it way back to when you first were starting to get to know about Taylor and Chris, Traffic and Funnels, ClientKit. How did you first come about Traffic and Funnels?
It's a good question. Yeah. So I know I came in via ClientKit. I joined ClientKit. I really don't know. I want to just say that I saw an ad and clicked on it. I didn't have much exposure to them before I joined ClientKit. I was already in the market for a coaching program like ClientKit. Like I was like, okay, I want to put together more of an automated funnel for the business that I had. And I was doing all right, but still was doing 90% of the work myself and, had some marketing in place, but not a whole ton, mostly doing referrals and stuff like that. So I knew I wanted to do that. And I think Facebook was just like, Facebook can kind of hear your thoughts. So it was like, hey, here's a bunch of coaching ads, so I must have clicked on some stuff and, saw the traffic and funnels thing, jumped on a strategy session. And I think I was just like, yes, I'm ready to go. Let's go. Like, I just kind of like, just get through the thing. And I already want to buy the thing. I think Taylor told me that I didn't make a decision on the phone. I thought I did. I thought I made a decision right there. But, I was kind of like, I'm ready to do something like this. And I believe very strongly in coaching and kind of mentoring as a general process. I hire a lot of coaches, or have hired a lot of coaches in my day. So, and just had a lot of success with the ClientKit process in general.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So diving into that a little bit more, would you like to tell us about your experience through ClientKit and where you started with your business, and then towards the end of ClientKit Workshop, where you were in your business then?
Yeah. So when I started ClientKit, I was maybe doing $5,000 a month, maybe something like that. $5,000 to $6,000 a month. I was primarily doing the management all myself. I was maybe charging like $500 a month or something like that, and just kind of had monthly clients on retainer. And I've been doing that for a while. I had another web design job, and that was cool. When I came into ClientKit, the things that were of the most benefit to me were the idea of doing the webinar into the strategy sessions. I wasn't doing anything like that at the time. What I was doing was I was doing free trial. So I would do a whole month of work for free, and in order to kind of like prove myself, in order to get people to hire me, which is fine. And, was doing fine and sort of doing the trick, but it was a ton of work, right? So it was a ton of work up front for not a whole lot of payoff. So primarily what I got out of ClientKit, like the big sort of level up things for me was, Taylor, I think, immediately told me I needed to raise my prices. So I raised them a lot, and didn't really lose any business in the process. Then I put the webinar in place, and I basically copied their web. I mean, I know they're like, don't copy our webinar. And I was like, cool, no problem. Daler and Priss, and I just kind of, basically just not straight, but I did a very similar version of the webinar, but just, I've been working with my market for a while. So I knew what their issues were. I sort of, drove that straight there, and started driving traffic to the webinar, to strategy sessions. That was a big thing for us because it put some lead flow in place that wasn't there before. And then the whole sales process on the phone, I was really bad at. And so learning how to do sales on the phone was a huge game changer. And so, you put like higher prices and more leads and better sales in place. That was a huge jump up. So I think my first 2 months, I think by the end of my second month in ClientKit, I had done maybe like $30,000 of new business from the stuff that I had done in ClientKit. So I was like, okay, I guess this works. Cool. Like, all right, and yeah, it was great.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. So I just want to go back to when you first mentioned your first increase in offer, and you mentioned that you basically didn't lose any significant amount of clients from that. How was that feeling for you when you first upped your price in realization?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, because immediately you realize you don't have to do as much work to make the same exact amount of money, right? So I was like, oh, I just basically doubled my income, and the amount of work that I didn't change at all, right? Or if anything, it went down a little bit. So that's big. I think I'm one of these people that is sort of like innately uncomfortable asking people for money. Like, I'm not great at that. I think most people are not great at that. And if you're a decent human being and you really want to help people, there's always some piece of you that's like, it's not fair to ask for more money, right? And people won't want to pay this. People will be angry at me. But you go through that process enough times and you just realize that, like, if you are actually doing good work and you're getting results for people, most people are more than happy to pay for that. And there's a lot of room between where you think you should price your thing and what you can actually price it at. And that's just economics. And so the higher you can price, the better the service you can deliver. And a lot of times the better the clients that you get. So it's one of these things where it's this like very emotional thing is you like raise your prices, like, you change the price on your website and then you sit there and you like white knuckle it on your desk for a week, because you think people are going to like, break, the CIA is going to break down your door and like hold gun in your face and be like, well, how dare you, like, but none of that happens. And nobody even noticed, like nobody noticed, you know what I mean? So it ended up being a huge relief and a huge help for the business in general.
Honestly, that's great. I'm sure it probably made it easier where, like, as you progress through this past year, realizing like, okay, it's time to bump it up. We need to with the work we're doing and the quality.
Yeah. I mean, we've raised our prices probably like 3 or 4 times since I joined ClientKit. And we probably charge 3 or 4 times what our closest competitor charges. So, immediately it just positions you in a totally different bracket. And in a lot of ways, it helps the sales process because people are like, whoa, if he charges that much, it must be really good. You know what I mean? It's like if you have a taco that you get at like like food truck, it's $3. It might be like the best taco ever. But if another food truck down the street, they charge $30 for some taco that they call like the fancy pants taco or whatever it is, you're always going to be curious, like, well, what makes that taco the $30 taco, right? And so it just, you got to back that up with performance. Obviously, you can't just do that forever, but it immediately positions it in a very different way, and it actually makes the sales process easier a lot of the time. So yeah, it was a hard lesson to learn, but one that I have had to have punched into my brain 10 times or 12 times or whatever. And every time I have this problem, I bring it up in upper echelon calls or whatever, and I say, I'm thinking about raising my prices. And Chris and Taylor say, of course you should raise your price, you doofus. And they hang up on me because I've already had that conversation 10 times. I know the answer to it already. And it's helpful to have that. It's helpful to have that feedback for sure. They don't really hang up. They don't really hang up. If you're watching this, that was an exaggeration. But there's a bit of tough love that I need in order to do my best. And so, if you know that about yourself, you have to surround yourself with people that will do that for you, right? Because if you surround yourself with people that have your same hangups, they don't necessarily push you to overcome that.
And I do want to go off of that. So you were towards the end of your time in ClientKit workshop itself, and you're currently in our upper echelon. So what was that? What drove you to want to progress to the upper echelon group?
Well, like I said, I think I made 6 times return on my investment in ClientKit, right? So, the process for me in working with them was already proven. And, there were a couple things that really pushed me to want to do upper echelon, because it's a much bigger commitment, and for me then it was a reach, right? It was a reach, and in a way I think that's important, because I think if you're trying to really advance in whatever, you need to do the thing that's the reach. It's tempting to do the thing that is a little bit above where you are, because that's like comfortable, right? We were talking about, I mentioned like I've been doing jujitsu for like a year and I'm terrible at it, but I like it a lot, but I'm just awful at it. Like just flailing around. Like it's like if someone like put a manatee in a wrestling ring, that's kind of what it's like. Like I make those noises, like I'm like, and that's what it's like. So my schedule lines up with a beginner's class. And that's a class I've always gone to, and I am a beginner, so it's fine. It's great. And I like it a lot. And then after the beginner's class is typically when I have to go home. But there's like what's called the competition class, which is where the higher belts go, and everybody can go there if you want. But these are big, imposing people. There's a girl there who's like the world champion, jiu-jitsu champion, and her age group, and she's just like an absolute monster. And they're super nice. Everyone's super friendly. But if you're going to go there, it's going to be a real reach for you, right? And you get to a point where it's like, I could stay in the class that I'm in, but if I want to really get better, I have to move to that class that's a little scary. So it's a little intimidating, right? UE was a little bit like that, where I was like, this has gone really well for me so far, and I could totally just stay where I'm at. But I want to push it, right? Like I want to push it. So I was doing, I'd gone from doing maybe 5 or 6K a month. Now I'm doing maybe 20 to 30K. And I think I could do that per month. And so part of me was like, well, maybe I just kind of stay where I'm at, and I make sure I really lock that in. But I'm like, well, could I get to 50K or 60K a month? Like what is possible, right? And so, it's a reach, but I was like, I feel like it's the right time for me to do that. And the other thing that I liked a lot about Chris and Taylor was that, they had grown a lot since I had been with them, right? So they were kind of, their business was significantly bigger than mine, but it wasn't like they're Tony Robbins, where he's doing $40 bajillion a day or something. I could see that what they were doing was also possible for me to do, right? They're approachable in a way that I think a lot of people aren't. And they reveal a lot of their process, especially in Upper Echelon, they show a lot of their process, and you're like, okay, cool. I went through that thing. You went through this thing. We kind of share this, right? So the advice that they give is really applicable, because when they say okay, here's what we learned from, having trouble hiring salespeople or whatever, they're talking about a thing that happened a year ago, not something that happened 40 years ago when they got into business, when doing infomercials or something, right? It's very applicable to what I was going through. And so, like if I went from like 5 to 6K a month in ClientKit to about 20 to 30 in my first couple months in Upper Echelon. I went from 20 to 30 to 50 to 60. And then we ended the year around 150 a month, right? So it's like been a ton of growth very, very quickly. And I just, I'm sure I would have gotten there eventually, but it went much, much faster and much more smoothly because I had that group of people to bounce ideas off of and see like, hey, like learn from other people's mistakes. Like you went through this process a year ago. If I'm going through it now, like what should I avoid or what should I do or what's a waste of time, right? And it's just a huge source of leverage, right? It makes things a lot easier if you can do that.
It's real, genuine experience that they want to share with you.
Yeah, I mean, they did the thing, right? It's they're doing a thing that's very similar to the thing that I'm doing, and like my business model is not exactly their business model. Like I make very little money off of coaching. Like I do a service business. It's an agency. So, what they do is a little bit different, but it's really not that different, right? And so they have that near term experience that's very useful, right? So, yeah, I just found that really, really valuable. And yeah, so it's been a great experience.
Awesome. And before we jumped on here, we were talking about how the people in UE, other clients as well, it's just an amazing environment to be in. And like you were saying, bouncing off ideas of others who support you, but also push you when needed.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, everyone in I think the thing that makes UE really, I mean, so Chris and Taylor are great. They're awesome. And they're a source of a ton of experience and help and everything. I think if the other people in the group were dirtbags, it wouldn't work, right? Or it wouldn't be enough to keep me in it. But the people in Upper Echelon are like some of the nicest, most ambitious. Yeah, like they are helpful and supportive, but they'll push you too, right? So one of the things I really like is the dynamic where, there's the dynamic between Chris and Taylor in the group, right? But there's also the group within itself. And that's a huge kind of force multiplier because you get everybody's experience and everybody's kind of doing very similar things. And for me, at least, like, I live in Connecticut and like none of my friends do what I do. Like nobody's really running their own business or anything. My wife, I love my wife, bless her heart. She's not interested in hearing about what's going on. She's like, it's cool. She's got her own thing going on. And so for me, just having a social network of people that I could say, hey, has anyone done this? Hey, what do you guys think of XYZ? That's a huge, huge asset to me because otherwise it's hard to know where to take that stuff, even if it's like, hey, I'm feeling super down. Or, I think Taylor said at one of the events, right? It's like, everybody in this group is a little bit insane because you're really productive and you do all these cool things. Your highs are high and your lows are really low. And I'm looking around, I'm like, oh, everybody's nodding because like I'm like all over the place sometimes, right? And it's just like, okay, cool. I found other people that get what I go through and like what my issue is, and it's a huge benefit to the group in general.
And that's why it's a select few because Chris and Taylor and Traffic and Funnels have designed it and want it to be like that and create that environment for them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's cool. You get decoder rings. They send out secret messages and then you dial it in. It's fun. It's awesome. You get like a hat that looks like Taylor's hair. It's like a Mickey Mouse Club hat, but it's just Taylor's hair instead. It's awesome.
I love it.
Look for that in your welcome kit.
Don't give them ideas.
Those ideas are free to you.
Mm-hmm. But you mentioned you finished off 2017 at your best all-time record high.
Yeah, December was our record month, and our previous 2 months were record months. So yeah, it's been great. Yeah, it's been great. And I was just saying, like, I do less and less. Like, I am now like completely out of the day to day and sort of looking to what our next chapter is and working on new and interesting stuff. And so it's always changing and evolving. There's always new challenges. And so that's why having a group like UE is really valuable, because it's like, hey, I just transitioned into this new phase of my business. Well, cool. There's going to be people who are also doing that in UE. And so you always have people to talk to. And then you get the chance to, someone's coming up and they're doing 30 to 40K a month or 10K a month or whatever it is. You get to say, like, cool, I was just there. Like, here's all the terrible mistakes I made, like learn from me, and it's a lot of fun. And it's fun. I should say that too. It is legitimately fun.
Mm-hmm. So you've honestly, from when you started ClientKit, you were by yourself, and now you're to a team of 8 people.
Mm-hmm.
You're hitting record months. And like you just mentioned, you are removing yourself out from certain processes, looking to do bigger things for your company.
Yeah. I mean, my business is essentially indistinguishable. It's not indistinguishable. It is completely unrecognizable from the way it was when I started, which is awesome. I mean, it's really like much better than I could have expected. Because honestly, when I joined ClientKit, I was like, this is probably not going to go super well. I've been through a lot of courses like this. These guys look really young. They're going to be kind of dumb. It's going to be fine. I'll see if I can take like 1 or 2 things, right? Because that was kind of my attitude coming into it. I'm like, give me the 3 important things that I'll fit it into the thing I'm already doing. And it's just gone really well. I mean, I think what you can say about those dudes is that they really push themselves to constantly be upping their own game. And so they're always doing things you can learn from. And it doesn't have to be exactly what they're doing. You can sort of take the kernel of it and use it to inspire your own growth and research and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I would do it again in a heartbeat for sure.
So you're removing yourself, you're doing less and less work, but you're able to think bigger picture now. So
yes.
That must be huge for you.
Yeah, it's wild. It is wild. We were just talking about this before. Like, I come into the office and I'm like, what do I do again? Like, nobody needs me for anything. Like, the team doesn't want me to show up. They're like, do a better job without me, right? So that's exactly where you want to be. So, for me, I get to think about the long term. I get to think about the big picture. We're doing this year we're going to start doing benefits for our employees. We're doing 401k. I'm doing college saving plans for their kids. It's like all this like awesome stuff that I always wanted to do and didn't really think was possible. So it's like now I actually have the time to think about all that stuff. And that just makes the whole business better in general. So yeah, it's pretty wild.